I'm Jonathon Collopy from our Y. Welcome to Y Be Well. Our opening theme music is by the California Honey Drops. The song Live Learn represents the ethic of our podcast to be well by living and learning. And through these conversations with leading voices in the community to foster a mindful lifestyle of well-being. Today's topic, Timmy's Place, which just recently opened in San Diego with the support of our guest today. Our guests today, Mary and Rolf Benirschke, community leaders who I would say that I've become aware are prolific in giving back and lifting up those in the community. Recently honored with the Peacemaker Award here in San Diego. Mary, a speech pathologist. Rolf, a beloved professional football player with the San Diego Chargers, CEO of Legacy Health Strategies. Rolf, Mary, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you for
Excited
having
to be
us.
here.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
My pleasure. I recognize that the two of you have invested a great deal of yourselves in addressing youth homelessness. And I recognize, and I'm not literate in this space, but I recognize really the challenges in having a meaningful impact in homelessness. So if you will, start us off in terms of what is Timmy's Place and what has been the impetus for yourselves to be involved in this cause?
Well, okay, I'll start. We were probably like most San Diegans. We watched the proliferation of homelessness. We didn't really understand it. It was sort of a nuisance. We knew there was a lot to it. We watched the city grapple with how to deal with it. From our perspective, that changed though when a son that we had adopted at 3 out of a Russian orphanage, who we parented, loved, did as much as we could. Mary couldn't have been a better mother, has all this, child behavior background, speech pathologist, poured into this boy who ultimately, in the stories I'll let Mary share, ended up homeless in Salt Lake City for more than 5 years. And it was during the process of trying to understand what drove him to do that, how to help him as best we could. It really challenged us as a family. Mary particularly got very engaged with homelessness and started to attend with myself and our daughter, who still lives here, a microsite church that Miles McPherson opened in downtown San Diego on Market and 10. That's the homeless, literally behind the trash cans, behind a 99-cent store. We would go down once a month, and Mary particularly started to befriend many of these homeless people and learned that they have all different kinds of stories. There are lots of different reasons they're there. We have very strong opinions as people that don't really know. And I'll let Mary take it from there.
Thanks. Yes, well, we would go down quite frequently to over a period of 4 to 5 years to understand the community. We got very connected to the people that were there, and we got to learn their stories. And we realized there's so many things that are out of their control. There's so much money being poured into this homeless community. And then you meet these people and they can't access them. They don't either have the skill set to access them. They feel like, somebody's trying to do something inappropriate, or they're trying to, earn their own money, or they're trying to, they have a selfish motivation in helping them. So they tend to stay very protective and not really access all the things that are available to them. So as much as the first step we felt with helping them was to get to know them. And so that in that process of getting to know them, we found that they trusted us. And from the trust then was, we could give them recommendations. We could help them, access available services. And so we just developed this sort of, neat relationship with many of the people. And we had friends come down and they developed relationships. And we felt that it was a lot about relationships. And at the time we had Timmy, who was, homeless. And so we're encouraging him. And we were providing a lot of sort of outside support for him. We'd have him talk to people that had been through similar situations. We would have, a former addict talk to him and give him advice. And finally, he said to us, Mom and Dad, stop it. Stop giving us advice. We really
Mm.
I just really want somebody to hear me and to listen to me and to
Wow.
be a friend. And we started then this friendship program. And then from that, we got engaged with the youth homelessness from the
Mm.
friendship program. And it is really just all of these kids are so incredible. They have such an amazing story and they have such a
Um,
deep character about them that we need to just see them as we would see, anybody really. And so,
So
I,
you're,
I appreciate what you're showing. I mean, first off, just you have lived experience, your son Timmy, and how challenging that could be for a parent. But Timmy offering you the wisdom in terms of how to connect and how to support it. I mean, it's truly beautiful what you've shared.
it's kind of a full circle story. So we got involved as a result of Timmy. We learned a lot. We learned there are a lot of different reasons people are on the streets. And if we go right to the youth, some of the most cruel, unfair things have happened to these youth, right? So one boy there at 6, both his parents were killed on a motorcycle.
Wow.
He ended up living with his aunt, or no, his grandmother, no other relatives around.
Mm.
She
Mm.
helps him through high school. Then she gets Alzheimer's, and he serves her for 5 years until she's worse and worse, and he's calling for help. And
Wow.
he gets kicked out of the house. One of the distant relatives thinks he's taking advantage of her, and the next thing he knows, he's on the street. So it's story after story like that. These really sort of unfair things happen to these young kids. They age out of the foster care system at 18. So there's an organization called Urban Street Angels that houses about 150 18 to 24-year-olds. They're required to be responsible. They've got to attend meetings. They got to be either working, looking for a job, going to a school. And at the base of this came free a facility that was a former coffee shop cafe
Mm.
that through our foundation, we had funded the Lucky Duck Foundation to do something per what happened to Timmy. So
Wow.
we go back to Timmy's story.
mhm, mhm,
Timmy was homeless,
mhm,
literally ends up in jail for 4 months, finds a Lord there, comes out,
Mm.
get him to recovery. He goes to recovery. Guys breathe into him and give him a chance really before he deserved a chance. And here he is today, 3.5 years later, sober, clean, grateful,
mhm,
owning
mhm.
his life,
Wow.
jobs, and only because somebody gave him a chance. And so that was really what touched our heart, particularly Mary's heart.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when we decided to fund Lucky Duck, we gave them the desire to find a social enterprise kind of a situation where we could give these kids a chance when they hadn't earned it.
Yeah.
They could develop these skills that could help them in the future.
What I really appreciate about what you shared is you have invested in getting to know and really humanizing these people on the streets, whereas a lot of people would keep them at a distance or project onto them that we know how they got there. But you really invested in, and that's could be very intimidating for a lot of people to venture and connect with somebody.
I'm going to brag on my wife. She really got that. And then
Mm.
she actually recognized the fear most of us would have, the uncertainty. And she
Yeah.
actually developed a whole training program to help activate and educate volunteers who are maybe called to do this, but don't really know what to
Yeah.
expect.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think on the other side too, for those youth that are on the street, that they may be guarded as well because they haven't had success in connecting for a variety of life circumstances that you have shared.
Yeah. We've really developed a sense of the trust is one of the main issues that they deal with, is trusting somebody either in authority or, yes, you say you're going to help me and you say you're a friend, but you're just really here to,
Yeah.
just give me advice and tell me what to do. So we have developed a strategy, which kind of sounds a little contrary, to get to know people more and develop trust. And a lot of times it has to do with the service area they're in. So Timmy's would be one of them. So we frequent it, we go, we get to know them. And then someone else might come with me at the same time and say, I really want to be, what is typically called a mentor, but we are calling it a friend because
Uh-huh.
you learn just as much from that person as they learn from you. And so
Yes.
it's really a mutually beneficial, impactful sort of relationship. And so we've developed something we think to bridge that fear. And so we think Timmy's Place is a really good opportunity for people to help out, not only just buying things and having lunch and supporting them and giving them high fives, but really getting to know them.
So yeah, so to cut to it, so what Timmy's Place is the bottom of a 4-story building that has 70 beds.
Mm.
It's formerly homeless, 18 to 24-year-old kids who literally fall out of bed and they can get trained in this facility.
Mm.
It's currently open. 60 or so kids are learning skills, printing skills, pizza making, sandwich making, coffee making, customer service, marketing, all of those kinds of skills.
Fantastic.
You see is these shining eyes.
Ugh,
These kids have shining eyes again, Jonathan. They're
wow.
full of hope. When you really listen to them, they go, I tried everywhere to get a job, but I didn't have an ID. I tried to get an ID, couldn't get an ID, nobody. And it was sort of one dead end after, and they want to work. And
Wow.
so you go to this place, it's Fifth and B,
Fifth and Ash.
Fifth and Ash. It's a coffee shop, it's a pizzeria, it's a print shop.
Wow.
And go in there, buy something, but get to know the kids. They're
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Mhm.
And-
How does someone get, how do the youth get there? How do they qualify or?
Great question.
Yes. So we also, so Urban Street Angels and Youth Assistant Coalition were both honored at the Padre Foundation this last week. They are incredible programs that really understand the youth on the streets. They understand that they're not there just because they want to, run away from home and do drugs. And, most people think they want to just do bad things. And that's why they don't want any rules. And really the reason they're on the streets are very varied and oftentimes because of a very bad living situation, because they've aged out of foster care or an abusive situation that they just can't manage anymore, or their families have been homeless and they end up homeless. So they don't necessarily have a model of how to move forward in life. So there's so many reasons why they're on the streets, but Timmy's Place offers that sort of connection, and they see that. So Youth Assistant Coalition brings them in off the streets. Literally, it's a place for them to go have a meal, to hang out and play games and sit and just visit with some trusted adults and some other kids. And from that, then they might get able to be housed in Urban Street Angels, which is the 70 bed place on Fifth and Ash, which Timmy's is below. So we have these organizations like Youth Assistant Coalition that can find kids through their outreach programs, through word of mouth, that are fairly newly on the streets and can go there, get some food, get some love, get a bit of trust going on, and then move into a situation like Urban Street Angels.
Is it time limited in terms of their stay there? I mean, I know the work sounds impactful, and also I can recognize the need for that foundation, that support, that trust to be established, especially when you're talking about job skills and being in an environment that is new. Are they able to be there for a particular duration?
They're able to stay up to 9 months. Mhm.
Wow, fantastic.
Which is really incredible. It kind of gives them that, little launching pad that they need to get things together. So
I had heard the byline, eat, drink, print, change a life. Love that progression.
For wisdom right there.
yeah, no, I know. It's really true because we can really impact lives by just going to Timmy's literally. And
Yeah.
just, if you have that purpose of having lunch, go to Timmy's Place. You're doing double things. You're eating and satisfying your hunger, but you're also giving back.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
But you know what's really cool about it? It's what San Diego is all about. It's not just one or two organizations. It's like 10.
Right.
It's UPAC. It's the Padres. It's the Lucky Duck. It's Urban Street Angels. It's the Legacy Foundation. It's all these people who,
And the restaurant.
and the Restaurant Association. There's another one. So we connect with the Restaurant Association. So they came in and trained all these guys on what they should do and how they should behave. And by the way, if they ever want a job in a regular restaurant, they now can do that. We've already placed two young men and women into restaurants. So
Fantastic.
it's an enterprise that actually can get replicated over time and do good while doing good while learning, and to see the eyes of these kids who are now encouraging each other. It's like a team, right? They're encouraging each other, they're teasing each other, they're learning.
Uh,
That's really exciting to see.
But I love the energy that you're sharing. I mean, the vibe must be very cool. I remember reading something about you were inspired by a coffee shop in Massachusetts. And that's kind of the model that you brought forward because of what you saw going on there. So it's wonderful to hear what you've created with partnership with Urban Street Angels and Legacy Foundation. Rolf, thank you. And Lucky Duck. That's really phenomenal. How's it going at this point, a couple weeks in?
It's actually really cool.
It's going.
I mean, Mary's down there a couple, 3 times a week. We're starting to have meetings down there. They do catering. People now that want to have their printing done, so they print, they print shirts and mugs and backpacks.
I'm a pizza guy. You got to tell me something that you recommend is like your favorite pizza.
Well, they have 2 things. One is they have a Timmy's coffee that they named it after Timmy, which is so sweet. It's got cinnamon in it, and it is like I'm craving it every day. It's really excellent. Their pizzas, all of them. The interesting thing about their pizzas is they're very multicultural. So they do a Mexican pizza. They have a Hawaiian. They have a Somali pizza. They have a and their desserts have a lot of different cultures. That the recipes from somebody's grandmother, or it's very multicultural is just the best word to describe it, and that's really cool. But their pizzas are amazing. But really, think about it. They're all getting trained for the first time. And so there's a learning curve.
Sure.
We're kind of taking it slow as far as getting the word out, so that they're not quite overwhelmed, because that learning curve for both the print shop and the cafe. So
they're digging in, though. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they are.
And then just to bring it full circle, why is it Timmy's Place? So we funded a Lucky Duck. They found this place. We got all excited to see what they were doing. Then they came to us and said, "What do you want to name them?" We said, "We don't care. You guys name whatever you want. It's your deal." Well, after a lot of prayer, we decided we'd like to name it Timmy's Place. That's okay with us. And
beautiful
for us, as our son is Timmy, who has completely lost, got hooked on drugs, made one bad decision. But you didn't understand the trauma he went through from 0 to 3 years of age in an orphanage.
Yeah,
it just impacts him. And as his brain worked, as much as we had given into him, it just didn't matter until full circle. Now he's out, he's grateful, he wants his story to be an encouragement for others. And this place is full of little Timmys. Second chance now. It's really good.
What can you share about Timmy today?
Well, he's coming out, and we've seen him a number of times. He lives in New York. He's working 2 jobs. He's in the Catskills, so he's got this very sort of rustic, contained environment, and he's thriving.
Wonderful.
He is coming out for a week, the first time in 10 years that he's been home. It's pretty surreal, and he's actually having his teeth worked on because he's missing quite a few teeth. And as parents, we've been counseled and actually told by our homeless friends that don't do anything for him. It has to come from him. So he's really wanting to have his teeth done, and then we can jump in behind him. And with all of that. So he's got to take the first steps, and he has to be the one moving forward, and then we're all there.
That's great guidance for all of us parents. So what would be a call to action? I heard, any business starting out, sustainability takes a little bit. I thought I had heard something about funding a shift. So if you'd share about how we could get involved in supporting this initiative.
Well, there's several ways. Yeah. So we fund this through the Lucky Duck Foundation. They are sort of the premier nonprofit that is funding impact programs that are actually doing something for the homeless. They feed 1,000 people a day, or I might be off by 10,000. I don't know. They provide blankets that turn into jackets. They do all kinds of things. And this was a impact program that they wanted to be a model that can be self-sustaining and actually replicated. So there's an opportunity to go to the Lucky Duck Foundation website, and you can fund a shift. But I think, and that's valuable for sure, but the best thing we can do is to actually go there. And it's like what Mary challenged us as a family to, which is go get involved and listen and learn. and sort of turn off our judgment and just try to understand, see them as real people. They are real people that have
Yeah.
had devastating things happen. Some by themselves, some, yes, are into drugs, got bad decisions, got hooked on things. But 85%, I think the numbers have had some dramatic trauma that has really precipitated things. And so when you start to understand them as people, see them really as God sees them, it's a whole different deal. And it becomes actually very inspiring to see what can happen.
That's wonderful.
And I would also just piggyback on that and say, visit there, have lunch, have it as a meeting place. I mean, it's a great place to meet if you're going to go downtown, and print if you need anything printed. So any material things, T-shirts, cups, anything they've got a massive printer.
We
But
should
they'll
talk
do
about
small
these.
jobs. Yeah, small jobs and big jobs. But then they also do catering. So we have them do a lot of our meetings that we have up here in North County. And we're thinking, oh my gosh, we don't want them to drive all that way. And so Dante, who's runs it, he's the operations man. He's amazing. It's like, this is what we're about. We want our kids to get out. We want them to go to different organizations. We want them to see what's out there. And so, yes, please have us as caterers. And they do a fabulous job. They do an amazing job, and big and small. So
it's really cool. So the art guy got it's a Bean. So Bean
Yes.
is this guy right out of Central Casting, where he was a gang member, a tagger, he's either going to be in jail dead or whatever. And he ends up turning his tagging into an art. And he's training these young taggers to become artists. And so a lot of the artwork done, like all the artwork at Timmy's place, is done by these guys who are extraordinarily talented, who are now using their skills for really cool purposes. So you can create anything, you go down there and it's just a really, really, I mean, it's humbling.
Wow. Well, I am compelled to go. I will take my leadership down there for our meeting. I mean, I'm really excited to experience and be a part of this. And in closing, I really appreciate how you've shown us a way to have impact in affecting homelessness. And thank you for sharing your family story and truly the difference that you're making in the community. Anything that you want to leave us with? Last words.
I would say, first of all, we've received so much from San Diego. If somebody's old enough to remember when I played with the Chargers back when we had a team, I went through really bad illness, and the community supported me in the form of blood. We did a blood draw. I needed 80 units of blood. The city, poured out literally their blood, and we developed the Charger blood drive that annually for 36 years was the largest single day blood draw in the nation.
Wow.
Because the community cares about each other. So we've been the beneficiary of that. And so for us to do this, we get so much back when you see what you get to do with these kids and how these kids can go. And they just need a little help. So I think you always get more than you give. And
Sure.
That's the message I think we've learned.
And I would say the same, is I think the blessings that we have, because part of the pain becomes part of your life's blessing. And so I would just encourage people to, not necessarily say pain is always bad, because you're going to be able to use that. You're going to be able to understand people better. You're going to be able to, encourage people more with the challenges that you've been through. So we feel blessed that we've been able to use the challenges that could have been very, very painful, actually to find joy in it, because we're giving back and with a new understanding. So I think that's pretty incredible.
Well, Mary, Rolf, thank you for your words and your example, for really showing us the way. So thank you very much for being with us. And till the next time we come together, please be well.